Hey everybody, welcome back to the RGR Football Channel on YouTube. This is Daniel Harms, and as you can see behind me, there's literally nothing. It's just white walls and nothing. So we are just about out of here. Moving on Friday, we are recording this on Wednesday, and the compensatory picks were just dropped a few minutes ago as I record this. So we're going to get into a new mock draft today, and we're going to go use the TDN one because I know that 100% it's been updated. So we're still waiting on the rest of them to be updated. And as we get going with this more throughout the draft process, getting closer now, 50 days left, we'll use other ones too, just to show you guys a more versatile range of programs. But right now, this is the one that I know that has been updated the most. So let's go ahead and jump in because I think that this is going to be a fun one. And like I mentioned, this one has been updated with the compensatory picks, and it usually has them included to begin with. They have a pretty good guess of where those comp picks are going to be. So that's why I've been using it up till now. With everything else updated, we'll get in on that and get going. So for this one, I do want to focus on trading back, maybe more than one, just one time. I'm not interested in anything that has to do with trading up. That's not what the Chiefs are going to do, especially in the first round. That's where most of your trade requests will come. I've been getting a lot of them around 14 and 15 with the Vikings and the Patriots. So we'll just skip right through those, and we'll talk through a lot more picks than I normally do, and we'll do it a little bit quicker so we can keep going with this. So this should be a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and just get rolling right into it. And like I mentioned, there's a lot of trade up prospects happening right around now. I almost always get a trade proposition from the Vikings. Never fails. And the Patriots didn't do it this time. But a lot of really good players are going to find their way down to the Chiefs at 31. And that's where I really think that the meat of this is. They only got one trade offer this time around, and it's a first and a seventh round pick. Obviously, he's not moving up very much here. So we're actually just going to stay with what we're at. I don't really think that getting an extra seventh is going to matter too much to me. So we're going to decline that and look at the board. This is going to be a little interesting because personally, I've been trading back a lot more in the mock drafts than I've been doing recently. So this is an interesting top-heavy defensive part that I'm not used to seeing with Azeez Ojulari and Gregory Rousseau here, to be honest with you. But I think we're going to do a little bit of something interesting with this specific draft, this specific mock draft, excuse me. We're going to take a look just to see who's on the board. More slot guys that, for me, Elijah Moore, Rondale Moore. Nico Collins is a guy that you guys saw in my wide receiver rankings. I do have as a top 10 receiver in this draft. But that's not where I think the Chiefs are going to go in the first round unless they're able to address some of their other needs in free agency when they clear some cap space. So I don't think they're going to go tight end. Offensive tackle is a possibility. But I think with the news that we got that Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher are likely to be ready, they're looking more for someone that they can come in and be a projected starter in a few years. Not so much right now. That's more of the James Hudson, Spencer Brown, Walker Little type guys. Brady Christensen's also a really good option for the Chiefs in a zone scheme. So that's where we're going to go look for that. But this is interesting for me because Azeez Ojulari is a guy who I think the Chiefs could actually really use in this defense. He has a ton of speed, a ton of different variety in terms of his pass rush skills. He's also very strong. I'm a little worried about what's going to happen when he's a full-time defensive end in the NFL. I think he's got the strength to really play on the outside and set the edge well. Not something that I have seen a whole lot, but he's got it. He's got the frame. He's got everything. So I really like the prospect of taking him at 28. I'm not going to lie. It's very enticing. What else we got? Nick Bolton. I know a lot of Chiefs fans, especially Missouri fans, really want him to be on the Chiefs. I'm not high on Bolton at all. I think he's a third round linebacker. Greg Newsome, the second, is actually a very interesting target as well, who I've seen him being mocked to the Chiefs a little bit too, with questions at corner outside of L'Jarius Sneed. We don't know if Baker's going to be back this year healthy. It does make some sense to go get a guy who can play on the outside, especially in the first round. So For me, I think that I'm going to do something I haven't done yet this go round, and I'm going to draft Greg Newsome the second, cornerback out of Northwestern with the Chiefs' first pick. And I know I talked a bit about Azeez Ojulari, but I think that there's a lot of defensive ends in this draft that really work well with what the Chiefs are looking for in terms of the build, the frame, and the necessary strength to play in this defense, something that Spags has really coveted in terms of getting the guys that have the right size and length, more like what Frank Clark brings to the table. So that's something that I really think is an interesting idea for this go around. And look at this. This is exactly how you want this board to fall. If you're the Chiefs, you take a guy who's going to come in and make an immediate impact on defense with Greg Newsome, and you get Landon Dickerson in the second round, who's there. We're going to look around a little bit, but this is like perfectly falling for what the Chiefs want to do. You want to get better on the offensive line. I think that an immediate upgrade, not only at center, but a guy who can also play guard, is huge for the Chiefs offensive line. We saw what happened when the injuries hit with an already porous interior offensive line. Austin Ryder, who, PFF has said he has not allowed a sack over the last year and change. But if we're being completely honest, he's not very good. And I know that a lot of people talk about him in terms of being a pass center, like a passing center. He's a guy who pass blocks very well. I think that he gets a lot of help, and he doesn't get much one-on-one time as a center. So Landon Dickerson's a guy who we've talked about a lot. The medicals are a red flag, but there's a reason that he's dropped in the second round. I'm actually getting more and more comfortable taking him higher, but I know that the medicals are something you're going to look at, and getting him in the second round for me is just, it's too much to pass up. And since he's there, I'm just going to take him. And I think that you now have two plug and play starters on this from this draft already. You're 1 and 2. You're ready. You're good to go next year with those guys. They're not going to be, a problem. They're going to plug in. They're going to play, and that's exactly what you want to see. And I think that it couldn't have really gone much better for the Chiefs in terms of players that can come in and really be an impact on the team. So now we're in the third round. Let's look at who has been taken, recently. Chaz Surratt, very, very, very down on Chaz Surratt. So seeing him go there doesn't really worry me. Jalen Twyman, whose frame as a defensive tackle and the strength that he possesses is really impressive. I think that he's going to be better than he was in college at Pittsburgh. Marlon Tipalutu, I think that's how you say that, out of USC. I watched a bit of him. I think that he's more of just a run-stopping defensive tackle, not much pass rush upside. My guy, Dyami Brown, is starting to go higher and higher in drafts, as you can see here. If the Chiefs were able to trade down and acquire another top 100 pick somewhere along the lines, I think you can take a chance on taking Dyami Brown a little bit earlier than this. This is where his sweet spot is starting to hit, and I think that that's perfectly okay. Like that's not an issue. So let's look at what we have on the board right now. Quincy Roche, that's an interesting option. I think that he's a bit lighter and more of a speed rush kind of guy. 6'3", 243. So he doesn't have the necessary length and weight to play in this defense for a Spags defense. So we're not going to look at that. But I think we'll look at some of the defensive positions. You're going to have to look at some interior defensive linemen. Tyler Shelvin's a very interesting prospect to me. I think that he's an incredible run-stuffing defensive tackle who has pass rush upside. Now, I'm not so sure if he can get there. I think he needs to be a little bit lighter for him coming into the NFL. He's like 350 pounds. He's a very, very big defensive tackle, but he's quick for his size. So if he can lose a little bit of the weight and still keep that strength that he has, because he's legitimately a dominant run-stuffing defensive tackle. So I think he can come and do that in the NFL at a high level. I'm just not sure that he's got the pass rush upside that the Chiefs really do need. I do like him in the third round, though. So this is an option that we're going to look at. But let's look at edges really quick, because I think that the Chiefs do need some edge players. And like I've mentioned, there are some real fits for the Chiefs. Personally, I like waiting to take Ellerson Smith out of Northern Iowa. I've talked a bit about him before. He's like 6'6". They asked him to put on 20 pounds going into his senior year, and he didn't lose any of his explosiveness off the edge. He still has a lot of strength now. He played very well in the Senior Bowl. So this is a guy I really like, targeting later in the draft. Third round, I'm not entirely sure I want to spend on a defensive end when I think I can get a pretty good one that's going to develop pretty well develop well going forward in Ellerson Smith. So let's look at linebacker. Cameron McGrone's an interesting prospect. He had all the natural athleticism and speed to be a coverage linebacker eventually, not initially, eventually. He's a very downhill, aggressive attacking linebacker right now. He doesn't understand coverages very well. So that's getting his the mental aspect of coverage and seeing what he's, understanding what he's seeing is really what's going to hold him back. And I think that at 94, this is an opportunity for you to get someone like Cameron McGrone who's going to be able to develop under Anthony Hitchens and Willie Gay. So there's an option there. Let's go back to everybody here. What do we got? Excuse me. Like I said, we've already talked about the majority of these positions. Offensive tackle is, like I said, an option. I'm not so sure I want to take one yet. I think that there's still more than enough options here. Brady Christensen and Walker Little. So let's look at wide receiver. I'm not a huge Tylan Wallace fan. I know a lot of people are. I think he doesn't create as much natural separation in his route running that a lot of people want in this offense, especially that Andy Reid wants. So I'm not so high in there. I think they're going to be able to get some players down in the draft. Frank Darby is an interesting, quick guy who is very difficult to cover. Demetric Felton out of UCLA, running back, wide receiver, hybrid type. So there's some options here, but I'm not so set on that yet. So let's just do something a little bit different. I'm very big on Kenny Yeboah out of Ole Miss. I think he's going to be a problem in the NFL, and the Chiefs have need for a tight end too on this team. I truly believe that he's someone that can come in and be a blocker, an inline blocker that the Chiefs want, and you can use him in his size, 6'4", 6'5", to go stretch the field and attack the middle of the field. It's an interesting prospect. For me, it's down to Kenny Yeboah and Tyler Shelvin. I think those are the two ones you want to go with. And seeing as how the Chiefs have Colin Saunders on the defensive already, I think that I'm going to take Kenny Yeboah here. This is something I haven't done yet so far, taking him in the third round. So I like the option of getting someone who's also coming up draft boards, who was a day 3 guy. You're getting him now, day 2, but I think he fills a need that the Chiefs actually do need. And it's more than people really kind of tend to think about as tight end 2 becomes more prominent in the NFL, especially when guys like Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill are getting covered like we saw in the Super Bowl so well. You're going to need some options and guys that can come and help block as well as stretch the field. So I like that option there. This is more of a different mock draft than I've done, so I'm sure that a lot of you are going to say either this pick or that pick, but I'm really liking the way this is turning out, and I'm pretty comfortable with where I'm going to go next. I think that the Chiefs are going to use some safety cornerback slash players on this, some safety cornerback slash kind of guys. So they've already drafted guys like L'Jarius Sneed, who can play multiple positions, safety, corner, slot corner, all those kind of things. So that's an interesting option there. All the offensive tackles have disappeared from the board. They've all been taken in that. So there's that going for not going so well for that. That's an unfortunate circumstance, but that's going to happen with all mock drafts. And like I said, I'm not super high yet on thinking that they need to take an offensive tackle yet. I'm not sure what they feel, and I'm getting more and more comfortable with the idea of having Mike Remmers back. You've got Schwartz hopefully coming back. His recovery should put him ready to go there. Fisher's recovery is going to be incredible if he does it. I tell you what, that'll be an incredible feat for him. That would be very impressive. So, Lucas Niang also. So I think that there's options here on the team ranking that might make them more comfortable with tackle than we are as fans. So there's that. I like the idea of possibly getting a linebacker. I know there's some talk about Justin Hillard, who I think is going to be a very good cover linebacker in the NFL, but he's got medical problems too. So maybe the Chiefs instead look for a guy like James Wiggins, who I'm very high on, out of Cincinnati. bigger safety that can do a lot of things that the Chiefs like to do with their safeties. He can come in, he can cover, he can be a physical presence in the defense, he can come downhill, play in the run game. I like that option. But let's go ahead and look at edge. Rashad Weaver, not really much juice at end there. He does fit the profile of the Chiefs, what they're looking for. But I think that the Chiefs can do something good here. They can add a safety in James Wiggins, who we've done multiple times here. But I also think they can come right back because they're getting that compensatory pick, and they can take Ellerson Smith now. I think that right here is really the value for edge. You've got a lot of guys here that come in, that can come in and be productive in their first year, not necessarily, wowing and putting guys away like that. But I think Ellerson Smith is a guy that I want on this team. So I'm going to take him here. And this is where we can start to look and trade up. No, I'm good. Look at wide receiver. It's a very deep class, as it has been the last few years now, as we're going to see players continue to fall off the board. Wide receiver is a position that the Chiefs don't necessarily need. They can also address in free agency, which I kind of expect them to take some looks. But I'm really looking at getting some value at wide receiver in this draft. I think there's some good options here. Marlon Williams out of UCF is an option. He's 6 foot. He's probably more like Pringle in the terms that he can be a route runner. He's not going to necessarily burn you downfield, even though Pringle can, in my opinion. You got a lot of fast, smaller guys. Anthony Schwartz, Olympic trial speed guy. He's going to be a very fast gadget player in the NFL. Josh I can't say that last name. I apologize, guys. I know there's a lot of fans of his, specifically for the Chiefs. I know that a lot of people are looking for him to be on this team. I like Cornell Powell, to be honest with you. I think he's a very good route runner. I think he can also stretch the field vertically. I think he gives a lot of effort in pass blocking. So it's an interesting little concept for me because he didn't break out until his last year in college behind a bunch of guys at Clemson, but that didn't allow him to really flourish. He comes in after all these injuries, Justin Ross and the leaving of T. Higgins, and he comes in with some more injuries, and he plays really, really well. Not just because, other defenders are looking at Amari Rodgers or Travis Etienne, but he's creating separation. So it's an interesting thing for me because I'm not so sure that he's a bad player, and getting him in the 5th round would be definitely maybe overdrafting him. But for my money, I think that he's probably your best bet to come in and be, a guy who can produce right away. So that's definitely an option. Let's look at tackle real quick just to see what we got. There's nobody on this list that really wows me, and we're gonna do something that I know a lot of Chiefs fans are gonna like, and we're not gonna take a tackle in this class. I'm gonna take Cornell Powell, and I think that a lot of you probably don't know who he is, and that's okay. But he's going to be someone that can come in and can learn. I think that you have the necessary speed there. He's got very good hands, catch radius. He can also create separation with his route running. So I like the idea of adding him to this team. Again, I know a lot of you aren't going to like it very much, but that's fine. This is fun. We're just going to kind of do as we go along and kind of see what happens here. Another compensatory pick for the Chiefs, I believe, at 182. Chris Tonga out of BYU is an option. I think that is going to be more of a run stuffing defensive tackle, maybe a depth guy on this team, not necessarily so much that he's going to come in and do much. You do have the possibility that Saunders is not going to be on this team very long. I'm not so sure how comfortable they are with him. He may have come in overweight the last year, and that's why he didn't play so much outside of the emergence from Wharton. So you have Derek Nottie, who's probably going to come back and play on an extension, I would think. A very good 1st and 2nd down player. No real juices as an upside as a pass rusher. And then, you lose the other defensive tackle. I can't remember his name. I've been trying to think of it this whole time. And this happens to me all the time. You guys know, if you've listened to me, I just kind of forget people's names. So I apologize about that. But I think that Chris Tonga can come in, be an interior defensive tackle that you can put in there and really stop the run. So we're going to take him here. So I like the way that this mock draft is shaping up. You get a lot of offense, a lot of defense, a lot more defense really, because I think as good as the defense really was most of the year, I think that it can be better, and I think that it can be deeper, and that's something that the Chiefs really have showed that they want to look into. The offense is going to be good. I think they're going to address it with multiple free agent signings, if not trying to get young guys that can come in and play, on short, small deals. I think that's ideal for them. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. This is an interesting draft because I think there's a lot of players that can do a lot of different things. So a lot of deep positions too. Like I talked about, I think defensive end is a very interesting prospect. And I think this is a very good draft. I think the Chiefs got shorted a pick in the 7th round here. I'm not entirely sure, but I do believe that they got shorted a pick. That's okay. I'm not too worried about that. But this is, I really like the top end of this draft. Like these 5 picks, these right here, are really fun for me. I think that I've talked about all of them at length, and I think that this is very intriguing. So it's different for sure, but I think that that's good. We want to see a lot of different outcomes with these drafts. So I hope you guys liked it. And again, I'm sure most of you wanted to see something different, but we've done a lot of offensive centric drafts so far. I think this defensive centric one is good, starting out with a corner first. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Again, I really like doing this. This is a really good exercise for everybody. And Ryan and I are going to get on eventually and do these together so we can really kind of talk to you guys, make our own opinions, and not just me trying to see what you guys want as well as what I want in this scenario and that scenario. So again, thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.